Heyo! We are, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, live for the very first time in I don't know how long.
Where's that audience coming from?
Well,
a lot of applause, but I mean, they back there in the locker room? Or?
Yeah, well, what it is if I remember correctly, I remember you saying something about how you were having the show piped into the gym speakers instead of music while we were live. So that was probably just people taking a break from working out to listen.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, I really like that song that we opened with. It sounds to me a lot like you and I are a couple of 80s detectives in pursuit of Man in a Black Hat.
Well, those are some of the best shows ever from the 80s, so yeah, it does.
Doesn't it?
It's not quite Miami Vice, but...
Yeah, just like a sitcom / cop drama.
Yeah. Not quite Columbo level, but...
No, well, it's you and I. I mean, come on. We're just trying to get by on these mean streets.
Yeah, that's right. But just one more thing.
So, here we are. This is the first time we've been live for quite a while. And I don't know if you guys tuned into that last little mini show, that teaser that I put out there to kind of explain why we hadn't been on for a while. But, well, why don't you want to go over a little bit why we've been absent?
I can't remember if we talked about it before on the last episode, that we'd be gone for a while. I think we did. But
did we? I thought we just kind of went AWOL.
Well, I think we mentioned it, but basically we just had a lot of work going on here at the business with an expansion, and of course that took some time, a few months, so we were just really busy, and we didn't want to have a substandard show, I guess. Not that
we are professionals.
Yeah, but we just didn't have the time to do it, honestly, and so now that we have a more normalized schedule and things are back on track and for the most part back in order, we can start getting back to the show.
And I'm excited because I know that there's people out there that listen. They may not say a whole lot about it, but they listen. And I know that I've been fielding a lot of questions, and I know you field questions all day long. And again, it's nice to get back to a formal. People can actually use it as a tool, a free tool, to get back to maybe even just some goal stuff. I mean, there could be people that have been with us through episode 1 that are maybe at this point in time at their wits' end, like, I don't know where to go to next, or what should I do, or I kind of sloughed off over the holidays, and now I'm kind of in a rut. So I think it's proper that this show is going to be about kind of some New Year's resolution tactics, or at least kind of discussing a couple things that we might be able to do to kind of kickstart the new year.
Yeah, I think that's the main focus of the show today. I already had a lady call me today, current customer, and she's basically wanting to maybe end her agreement, and I said, well, why? What's going on? And she's been enrolled since I think July, and she says, well, I'm just having a hard time staying motivated.
Right.
So I kind of tried to walk her down the path of why it's a good investment to your health, and 2 or 3 times a week, like we've talked about on the show, 20 to 30 minutes a week is really all you need to commit to see a good result from your workout program. So people just a lot of times they're motivated initially when they start a program or when they join a gym or start a home workout or whatever they're doing, and then quickly they fall off. And I think today I would like to go over a few things to maybe help people avoid that. Some of the pitfalls of basically being overly motivated.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
Initially.
And that definitely is not just a beginner issue. I think sometimes if somebody has been injured or if somebody has been in a position where they have to take an extended period of time off, more than a week or so, I think that it's like a mentality that they get, or maybe even just an overcompensation that says, well, when I was 25, I used to bench press 300 pounds. Mm-hmm. I haven't worked out but maybe 4 times since then, and I'm 30. I should still be able to bench press 300 pounds, when that's not simply the case.
Right.
It's quite contrary, But I don't know. I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point that we bring up, because at some point in time in our life and in our training life, that is, and in our programs, we can definitely get stalemated, and we can bite off a little bit more than we can chew, for the simple fact that we are enthusiastic, and that we are in a position where we want to make those fast gains, or we have to, I don't know if we're setting deadlines on ourselves, or if we are, or if we're working toward a certain goal. I guess a goal is a deadline, but if you're working toward a vacation, or if you're working toward a magic number, if the doctor says they want to get you below a certain weight or a certain body fat, or get your heart, your blood pressure under a certain point, then that's definitely a deadline. And then we have goals, such as fitting into an outfit, or getting ready for summer, or getting ready for a vacation of some sort. So there definitely needs to be, starting out, I know that we are all fired up and ready to go. And when you are fired up and ready to go, it's easy to go down that path of biting off a little more than you can chew. So again, I think the first step is to figure out what you're working for. Is it a deadline, or is it a goal? Did the doctor say something? Do you want to be healthier? Again, do you have to be under a certain weight, or are you looking toward a reunion or a vacation? So setting your goal up first and having a time that you want to start working toward is, I think, kind of important.
Sure, I agree with that 100%. I wanted to, again, go over I think the biggest mistake that people make, it sounds crazy again, I said being overly motivated, but again, usually what I've seen over the years is people come into a new routine, or join the gym, or set up something, workout with by themselves, or with a training partner, or whatever the case may be. They're looking to make a change, and the number one mistake they make is they go into it and they work out, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week.
All kinds of stuff too.
To change the diet right away from whatever they were eating to chicken and rice.
2 hours a day.
2 hours a day.
Cardio weights, plyos.
Yep. And you have to be realistic. I mean, that'll work for a certain amount of time for most people. And that certain amount of time is usually like a week or 2 weeks. And then you just burn out emotionally and physically. Right. And then you just don't go at all.
Right, yeah.
So you went and you spent $600 on a gym membership, or you bought a new Bowflex for the house for $1,000 or whatever, and within 2 weeks, you're not using it.
Right.
Because you're just not being realistic with the lifestyle change and how much of an effect that's going to make on you, time-wise and all those kind of things. So to get right down to it, you only need to go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. Work out 2 or 3 times a week, really, in my opinion, from what I've seen. 30 minutes to an hour at most. But the key is it has to be done consistently. So it has to become a lifestyle change that you can incorporate, that you can live with for the long term. Right.
Well, even and that's something that can go beyond a beginner or an intermediate person as well. Because you and I were just talking. I came to kind of a hitch in my work schedule versus workout schedule. So even somebody that's been at this for 25 years sometimes doesn't see the forest from the trees, if you will. I was getting a little over my head with my planning, and it's just something to think about. It's not don't be discouraged. It's not something that you're going to have. That's going to happen all the time. It's not something that happens to everybody, but it happens.
Correct.
And I think something to be aware of is also just on top of maintaining that consistency is to create the time for it. Because if you do not plan ahead for this type of thing, or to at least say, I've got a 4-hour gap or a 3-hour gap or a 2-hour gap, I really need to get a half an hour in or something like that. If you don't plan for it, then there's always something that tends to come up that takes its place. Like, oh, well, I got to run into the dry cleaner. I got to go return this video to Redbox or something like that. Something always comes up that seems to take longer than it should. And so I think planning for it is also a big idea in terms of your eating and your workouts and things.
You have to prioritize it. There's the saying that I heard from he's basically a motivational speaker. He works out here. He did motivational speaking for a company he worked for years. And what he'd always tell me when he was, trying to get the employees motivated or to have somebody make a lifestyle change of some kind, he said, you're either interested in something or you're committed to something.
Right.
His example was he'd always tell me, Brandon, I'm interested in weight loss, but I'm not committed. Therefore, I don't lose any weight.
Right. Yeah.
But if,
makes sense.
As soon as he's committed to something, that means that you make a plan and you follow through.
Right.
And so you have to be committed to your goal, but again, don't bite off more than you can chew.
Right.
Start slow and, 2 or 3 days a week. Again, I'm going to keep reiterating that because that's really all that it takes.
Right.
And
especially for somebody that's not conditioned to be in the gym a lot anyways.
Yeah. I mean, another point, though, is, what's it really worth, the value of your health?
Right.
You really can't put a price on that. I mean,
right.
Some people think, well, I've got to spend $30 a month or $50 a month or $200 a month because I have a trainer or I've got to buy all this different food or whatever. But, I mean, what are you spending when you miss 2 or 3 days of work a month because you're sick just due to things that could be prevented, or your productivity when you're at work, your insurance costs of being unhealthy.
Yeah.
You can't even get insurance if you're past a certain level of health anyway. If you can't pass when you go to get, I just applied for some more term life insurance the other day, and I have to fill out a questionnaire, and I've got to go get a physical, and if I don't pass that, they're not going to insure me, or if they do, my premiums are going to be through the roof.
Sure. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
right.
So it's always worth a minimal financial commitment and the time commitment to become healthier.
Well, and just kind of staying along that health line, excuse me, the science is out there. I mean, there's two things that cause the big four, the cancer, the diabetes, the heart disease, and obesity, that are linked to those things specifically, and that is sugar and lack of activity. And there was actually a real good video on YouTube anybody can go watch for free. It's called 23 and a half hours, and it basically just talks to people about the benefit of a half an hour of activity. And it's like a meta-analysis. There's just a bunch of studies compiled together over different countries, over different periods of time, that just, something as simple as riding your bicycle to work or walking to work, just a half an hour a day makes a big difference. And we're talking about adding years to your life. We're talking about the quality of your life. I mean, it's a big deal. And it's interesting to me that it can be so simple, so to speak.
Well, and I think that's, a lot of people say, well, I'm going to die no matter what. And of course, it's
true.
Pretty much sure they're right. I mean, I haven't done a study on that yet myself, but they're probably right. But we're talking about improving not necessarily the length of your life, which you probably can do that to an extent through exercise and diet. I'm sure you can extend it. But more importantly, you hit on it, the quality of your life, right? So, yeah, I might live to be 90, but if I'm not mobile and I'm in a nursing home for the last 20 years of my life, well, what's the benefit of that necessarily?
Right.
I don't know. Versus being able to still live on your own and get around and do things into your later years, that makes it worth, those retirement years actually, a little more joyful, I guess. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.